The reason why I wanted you to answer it in this format was because I find a lot of times uh, many of us are either shy or we lie because we are not confident of what our truth stands for.
Hmm.
Um, uh, I've often had people uh, think that truth is too big to handle most of the time.
Right.
And because we are discussing this so threadbare, I personally agree with you. I think it is not really that big if you break it down to doing it then and there.
Yeah.
So as much as early in the game you are truthful,
Exactly.
the more freedom you face and the more uh, better your quality of relationships are. And I
You
mean,
have a better chance of things being smooth.
okay, so why do you want to disqualify that it is surely that? I want to specify something. It may take time because you just mentioned your truth to me today and I do not like what you said.
Correct.
Um, I don't remember who I was talking to. There was this friend of mine. She said she and her kid and her friend and her kid were supposed to meet, and suddenly it was cancelled at the last minute.
Mm-hmm.
They said they are very busy. They have some emergency, and in the
Mm-hmm.
evening, those guys posted some photographs on Facebook of a party or some such thing.
Okay.
So this lady was quite cheesed, obviously. Now my understanding of truth is a little more holistic. One is the
Right.
truth that we perceive. Obviously, I
Mm-hmm.
felt that we should meet, and you are saying no, you are busy, and then suddenly I
Mm-hmm.
see your party photographs or whatever. This is one aspect, obviously, which hurts me. But there is
Mm-hmm.
the other thing. The fact of the matter is that you chose something else over sitting down with me or whatever, or meeting me. Now that itself was also a truth. I may like it, I may dislike it is another story.
That's a different story.
But that also gives us uh, a sense of freedom. We do not realize it immediately.
Mm-hmm.
So over a period, if you were truthful and you were saying, look, I have to go to this party and I don't want to see you today. I'll see you soon. And it kind of just can resolve it then and there. I may be hurt for a while, but then after a while, I know the truth. And if I decide that our friendship is worth it, I'll come back to you. Or else I may not for a while, but I think I will always respect the fact that you said it beforehand
Right.
rather than me finding it on Facebook and feeling bad about it. Okay, so the reason why I brought this up is when the Bible says you shall know the truth and the truth shall make you free. Obviously, it is talking about ultimate truth and something that is beyond us for
Yeah.
a long time. But most of the time, we have this whole the sacred is very sacred and everything else is profane. Real life has got nothing to do with that, and it is
That.
the territory of saints and priests, and it's not like that. It's actually everyday practical advice that we can live. Obviously, it's not easy to live. We have our habit
Right.
bites. We may, at times, we may trip. Now, another question that I want to bring up is the first line that I wanted to revisit. There are people I know who don't even say the truth to themselves. The sense of inadequacy is
Mm-hmm.
that deep. Uh, I know of a friend she is like, everybody's out to get her almost.
Mm-hmm.
That scenario, every time we discuss something, look, I am stuck here. I can't do what I want, and these
Mm-hmm.
guys are judging me. This is what is happening,
Mm-hmm.
or that person is judging me, or this friend is judging me, or my parents are judging me, or something or the other is always on.
Right.
And I have had many such conversations over different issues also, professional,
Mm-hmm.
personal.
Right.
There is always this sense of justification which cancels out the inadequacy bit. Um, why would it be so is something that I've often wondered. So I would want your point of view on that. What is it that makes us go into that zone where we don't even tell ourselves the truth?
Because I feel because sometimes you're too scared of what may come if admit to the truth. So if I tell myself that, oh, I understand, and I don't blame this on another person. So I blame it on myself. I say, I think I am the cause. for this. So I have said something that might have hurt X person's feelings, and it's not because that person is sensitive, then I have to take the responsibility of it as well.
Ah,
And sometimes that can be very daunting.
okay.
To
Have you
At
ever
least that's
faced
what I feel.
have you ever faced something like that as a youngster or whatever? When you are young, but I mean in school or some such thing.
Yeah, I think I had a childhood where I faced certain issues regarding bullying and things like that. And for the longest time, till my college life at least, I kept only blaming what was happening around me. And the bullying aside, everything else that would happen, I would find a way to link it to that. And that happened to me. That's why this happens to me. And so it's not my fault. It's that. So never taking responsibility. But I think as I started growing up and I started, when I lived in a hostel during my college life, and you meet more people there and you gain more experience. I started realizing that some of the situations were not in my hand. I agree. I couldn't do anything about them, and what happened. But there were definitely certain issues where I could have owned up to myself and avoided a lot of hurt, not only for me but the person in front of me. So I have faced that, and it's a very harsh realization when you sit to understand, okay, it's me, because no, like I said, no one really wants to say that, oh, I'm the problem. It's always easier to blame it on other people or a scenario or something like that. So it's definitely happened to me, and the day that happened to me, that's when I decided to start being honest and start taking things as they come rather than mulling it over and coming up with an elaborate story or saving myself from eventually the truth coming out. So
So I would want to know if it's not too personal a thing and you can share on camera, what was it that led to the sense of enlightenment? What happened that forced you in that corner where you suddenly had this, oh,
uh, actually, I was just sitting and I had started the process of journaling. Okay, writing down, just free flow writing. And sometimes when you're journaling, you don't really think. The trajectory becomes, it's very widespread. So you start thinking of really random things that you don't think on a daily basis. So I was writing, and I was writing on a different topic. It was just words, just writing, and suddenly this particular fight with a friend that I had came to my mind. And because I was, I started writing down, okay, what happened, what I said, what this person said, and then I read it. Okay, after I finished writing, I read it, and when I read it, I realized that, now that I'm a few years older and I look at this, and if I was in this situation now, I wouldn't have said what I said because I realized that that was a trigger. So it for me, that's how it came, because I reread something that I wrote, and that's rare that you get to read exactly how you wrote. But when you're reading it, you don't read it in any particular tone, right? You just read it for the words that it is. So for me, that's what helps. Is just standing back and seeing it, written down. So that was my realization.
um, this is good because what comes to me is that when you distance yourself from yourself, irrespective of the fact that you had some years in between, I've known people who died with thoughts of revenge, like families, like literally, it's almost filmy that families have fought over things that seem completely inexplicable. Like they do not know, but their fathers had fought, and their chachaji and this had fought, and this person had fought, and fight to the point of hitting each other with stones. Like it was beyond my comprehension. And whenever I tried to find out what was the matter, they said it's too complicated.
Right.
But as a kid, when I saw all of that, and I used to wonder what is it that they bring to, like, how can somebody hate someone so much? It's space in my heart. Finally, I'm not liking you is fine. You may deserve being not liked, but my heart is full. It feels burdened with that whole idea.
Right.
At least that is freedom that I should seek. But I saw like generations pass away in that fight, and it just kind of shook me that how much of um, different kinds of inadequacy one can carry within oneself, sometimes inherited in this case. So, my question to you is, if you, so far we've been talking about inadequacy that we face within ourselves.
Right.
Sometimes, luckily, we are all experts on everybody else. But sometimes, since like you have quite a bit of knowledge of how the mind works, uh, how do you deal with somebody else's inadequacy? If you have, say you have parents, cousins, or somebody who you know who are close to you in some manner, and you know really they are feeling inadequate about it. So, have you had any episodes regarding somebody else's inadequacy? Have you tried to ease it? Have you succeeded or failed? Can you tell us a story which is obviously on camera? So, whatever you would want to share.
So there have been times where people close to me will come up to me and tell me a story, and based on, okay, I didn't like this and I want to take revenge, and obviously revenge is very strong word here, but I want to get back at this person
Yeah,
because they didn't treat me right, and it's not fair, and it's happened so many times, and it's not uh, me personally, I'm someone who thinks that if you carry on a lot of dislike, I won't say hatred, or you in life keep, you're exposing yourself to constantly think about it if you're not dealing with that. So if I have a problem with someone and I constantly keep thinking about the minute I hear the person's name, I'm like, oh my god, this person did this to me. Or if I see that person, I'm like, you did this to me. I myself, or the person who I'm giving this advice to, is not free of the scenarios. And a lot of times people like to say, yeah, I don't even think about this. But the fact that you're talking about it means that there is a
yes,
reason that you thought about it.
yes,
So something that I always tell people is, and sometimes it's been a few people who've been a little older than me, so I have to approach it very
yeah,
in
I
a very
think,
soft way.
yeah,
I can't tell them on their face, but
diplomatically,
I always stick to the fact that you having an issue may just be harming you more than it's harming them. So I always try and tell people, it's difficult. It's not easy in the truest sense to forgive someone or to say, okay, this doesn't bother me anymore. But as difficult as that road might seem, it's going to be a more beneficial one than avoiding the problem completely. So for me, that's how I've always been. I a lot of people around me have always told me you're too forgiving and you let go of things too easily and you don't keep things. I just think I will get very burdened if I continue to
wonderful.
hold things against me. So that has always been who, and like I said, there have been people who agree with what I do and people who say that, no, you know what, you're just too forgiving and you're just like this. So it has its own cons. And it does when you leave yourself
So, how do you
obviously
deal with the
more
cons?
sensitive. And I I I just tell myself that everything on this planet has pros and cons, and I have to go with it. So I take it as each day comes. If someone tells, yeah, okay, it does leave me vulnerable to someone taking advantage of
Which is
being
what
of a forgiving nature. It it does leave me open to that. But I think the in relation to the pros would be much higher than the cons for me. I don't think that situation will always arise that, oh, okay, and I'm not saying being vulnerable. I don't mean that, oh yeah, I'm like going to talk to this person and be their best friend and share all what is happening in my life if someone's hurt me. I don't mean forgiveness in that sense, but forgiveness in a way that I don't have to hold it against that person constantly or have it. Like I can still keep my sanity and not get involved in that. And that's the advice I always give people around me also. Sometimes a few people have taken it. One or two of my friends have taken it and come back to me. Initially, we'll have a big argument and they'll be like, this is not how I can do things. I'm a stronger person and I can't do this. But one friend of mine, she did take my advice. And a few months later, she came back to me and she said, and then when I saw this person, I didn't feel so bad. I didn't feel the need to discuss their life with the person who's sitting next to me. And so I have had certain successes with this advice as well.
Okay.
But yeah,
So,
most of the times I get turned around and told you're just too forgiving and you're just leaving yourself vulnerable to hurt. But